28 millimeter RPG. Rick here. And the dude making the peace sign is Bo from Bo Paints Minis. Go subscribe to him if you haven't subscribed to him. He's only got so many 99 subscribers. Let's get him to 100. So he did a video the other day, which I thought was pretty cool. And you see, we got Shadow in here, and that is going to be happening there, Mr. Shadow. We will be doing that, but not until after New Year's, of course, everybody. Not until after New Year's. Our game tomorrow for Castles and Crusades is going to be the finale for this season. As you may know, some of you guys know I work retail, so I'm like a retail manager, and we got the Black Friday this weekend, so which means everybody in retail is going to be working later hours and stuff like that. So my schedule is changing. So this Wednesday will be the last Castles and Crusades in Harn until after Christmas, and we'll go ahead and reschedule that for our second season with the gang and see where it goes from there. And let's get to this video here. This is a video response I'm doing to this very interesting topic. This is Bo from Bo Paints Minis. Let's see what he has to say here.
Hey friends, you old pal.
Let me go ahead and correct this. For some reason, my volume is coming through on the. Hey, let's check this again.
Bo here, the only man on YouTube with the face for radio and a voice for. Coming at you again. Been thinking more about our Friday night game, and I don't know if you have the privilege and pleasure of participating in a regular and continuous RPG session with the same group, right? Not one shots, not a rotating group, but you got 4 or 5 people that you're meeting with, you're playing with, day in, day out, week after week, and really trying to develop a campaign world and a campaign universe. But I have that privilege, and I've been meeting with the same guys for about like 8 or 9 months now, pretty regularly, cool. Almost every single week. A few exceptions, work gets in the way, stuff.
That's the thing is trying to get a group together that's got a common interest and they start bonding over this game. And what I found is the more input the players have in the game, the more they will bond to the game. And in order to get the most interactivity, as a game master, that I've been discovering is the less you rely on just yourself to come up as a game master with all the stuff for the players, the easier you are going to have as a game master. And you're going to have to trust your players to come up with some cool stuff. With my current group with Castles and Crusades, I still pull a lot of the majority of the creation of what's happening in the world and stuff like that. But the players will have their ideas and stuff that they want to kind of get across, so they present their ideas. What would be even cooler is getting into that where you have the group of players that you entirely trust that they're going to be proactive and do things because, they're going to be cool characters in this whole world that you're all going to combine and create. and they're going to try to do cool things in this world. They're going to be, whatever, heroes or mercenaries or whatever. But the whole goal of that is to have a cool story at the end, that you can recall and remember and enjoy with your memory. The thing is that trust. You got to be able to build that trust with them. So having to play with players and after a while get an idea, a sense of what they like in the game, what kind of characters they're capable of playing, and the method that they play in. If they and when I say method, I mean they're really good um, at stating what they are going to do in their turn and staying in character, which is very important for me because the more I can realize their characters by watching and listening and enjoying their banter with the other players, the more I know that they're gonna they're gonna push it in a positive light. Um, and I've Shadow, I haven't seen Bo run a game yet, so I don't know. But I think this video here is really cool because he gets into the stuff that I'm usually talking about, which is pretty neat. How's the sound for the video and me together, Shadow? If you can give me a heads up, let me know if I gotta go ahead and crank myself up or lower Bo's volume down a little bit on his video. But yeah, I'll trust that what you're saying. Bo runs a really good game. And okay, and we'll we'll go. Yeah, we'll go from here and we'll take a listen to what he's got to say. It's all about proactive players and reactive GMs.
Like that, but it's never just, I don't think I'm going to make it this week. I mean, it's like if you don't have commitments, you're there, butt pressing plastic, interacting. And I want to share with you an experience I have as the game master of this group. I have the best experiences as the GM when I'm not doing the talking, right? I feel that as the GM, it's not my job to entertain the group. It's the group's job to interact in character, to role play, and to make things happen. So I'm viewing myself not as a storyteller, but as a facilitator. Right? I facilitate the world. I run the physics of the world. I run the NPCs of the world, but I don't tell a story. The players interact with each other, with the setting, and with the NPCs. And when they do that, I find that all I have to do is sit and wait and interact as they interact with the environment. And if I do that, then I don't have to strong arm or railroad or do anything like that. And I think that a lot of players, especially a lot of new gamers, expect the GM to tell them a story, and a lot of GMs, I think a lot of GMs are failed playwrights, and so since they're failed playwrights, they want to tell their story through their role playing session. Now I tell the story, you roll the dice, but only when I tell you to roll the dice. But I think that in a really dynamic, if you've got a dynamic group and a group that's really trying their best to be proactive, then me as the GM, I am reacting to them maybe even more than they're reacting to me and reacting to the world. I think that's there's a dynamic, right?
Sorry, I had to go ahead and throw it on mute, and my daughter was yakking in the background there. So he makes a good point, and a lot we see this a lot, and it's what our main complaint about game mastery, and I'm totally guilty of this too myself. I'm not to say I'm the most perfect game masterer at all. So, and I've been learning a lot in the last couple months. I've been really like trying to focus and get this down pat where I'm not going to be any longer that game master that tells players where they are, what they're doing, like manipulating their characters. Because that's kind of a hard thing to pull yourself away from, because you've been you've been playing this for so long in a certain way where you are basically directing the players around, and so you understand what I'm saying is when a player says, I walk up to the altar and I start to pray. When you intercede as the game master and you say your part, you're not supposed to say, as you walk up to the altar, this and this happens. No, you let it be exactly how that player has explained it. And you can continue on by the candles flicker around the altar, somewhat fluctuating to the sound of your prayers or something like that, or whatever it is. But you have to state it in such a way that it isn't you saying what the player is doing. It's you saying what the reaction is in the environment as the player has done the action. And so you're reacting upon what the player is doing instead of, becoming the, I don't know, what would be like taking over the character's action and then restating it. Because you do see that a lot in the games, and I've been doing that a lot too. So I've been trying to and if you've seen our last few Castles and Crusades episodes, that's what I've been working on, is pulling away from doing that. So I just want to be solely a narrator of the environment around them and react to what they're doing. The weird thing is, a lot of game masters go ahead and develop, create these really elaborate, things where they've got, this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and then I have this set up so that when this happens, they're all going to go ha ha ha, or whatever. You're not supposed to do that at all. I mean, what you work on is everything that you control as a game master. That's going to be anything that deals with the environment and anything that deals with the NPCs. So you must have those two things down pat. You must have the environment down pat, and you got to have the NPCs down pat. The NPCs can include monsters, include organizations, whatever, any kind of thing that the players can interact is pretty much up for grabs in that, except for the other players. So if the players are interacting with each other and they're talking amongst each other, you just sit back and enjoy the moment, and then at the right time interject something like you can add in what's happening in the background. There's people walking around. There could be people in this, say it's reacting to what I was just saying, the altar and stuff like that. They could be in like a church or a temple or something like that. So you're describing things that are going on behind them. You can like the chorus of like a choral arrangement from like a choir is going on. You can say that and let the players imagine what that sounds like, in their heads. You don't tell them, you hear the beckoning, the sounds of angels and stuff like that. But you could say there is an angelic choir going on, in the background, and they could key in on this and work with that. You don't know where it's going to go or what's going to happen in the scene or anything. You just know as a game master what the environment is and what the NPCs want to do in that kind of situation. You could have maybe one of the choir members is a secret spy for some evil god, and he's poisoned the baptismal waters or something like that, or something along the lines. You have all these kind of weird kind of things that these NPCs are going about with, but the players are going to end up interacting somehow with what's going to go on in this scene as it occurs. You don't know how that's going to work with the players. The players could be there, for example, as just being there at the time when there's a certain special person. Maybe it's an inheritor of a throne or something, and they are being, baptized or whatever it is. And that's how, the evildoer is going to assassinate this future heir to the throne. So you don't know how it's going to work out. The players may have like inklings or something, or they may have some sort of, previous interaction with some of these other characters that they're kind of suspecting something weird's going to go on. And you might want to go ahead and do something like a roll, like for one of the characters, if they catch some insight of a kind of particular hue that they see in the water, and they might go, "Oh, this is odd. Something's odd," and they may clue in that this may be the instrument of the assassination that's going to go on. But you don't know. You don't know if they're, if you're making it a role that it could be something that the characters key in on. So be it. You could have it that maybe one of the characters realizes that from what he's talked to and with another NPC from a session before, that this particular type of poison reacts, differently with water or something like that, and it absorbs into the skin and stuff like that. There could be, like, you always got to go ahead and throw in like in movies, the scene where you see the instrument that's going to be used, be it the knife or the gun, is going to be fired sometime in that movie. So you kind of keep that kind of logic in behind it. See, we got a whole bunch of other people in here. Hey, we got Mobius. Nice to see you in here. And what about fast forwarding the scene to pass the boring, mundane BS? Yeah, that occurs when you have like the entire group, all your players, all decide that they're going to, okay, we are going to go ahead and travel down the route of the forest and off to the next hamlet. And as long as the entire group agrees that's what they're doing, then you forward. So the group proceeds on to, or you could say it as, let's see. The journey takes you down towards the forest, and you start describing the forest and the trees and stuff. You can bring in these, just the things that are coming in and going past the players. In the meantime, the players can continue on. They could be conversing as they're wandering along, and they could carry on a conversation. And as they're doing that, you can also explain, ahead, you see a swamp and you start describing the swamp and the things that creatures in the swamp flying around or whatever, bugs, that sort of stuff. So you can do all kinds of things like that without like actually implying that you are manipulating the players around. Everybody knows they are walking and they're continuing on this path, but it gives you some ways that you can have the players interact with each other, or you could bring in something suddenly, suddenly from the trees, come the spiders, and make some sort of action that happens if you're feeling that the scene is feeling too mundane, or it's time to bring in some form of action or something like that. But the thing is, you don't just bring in stuff just for the sake of it. You have to have some ideas in there in case, I always fall back to a lot of the things that the players do in the previous session, like interact with the slavers and they pull a fast one on the slavers. Well, those slavers are going to remember that. And then they do come back later and they do, exact their revenge on the players or fail. In the case of our last game, in Castles and Crusades, that same thing kind of happened. But you have to kind of pick these kinds of things up that could be things that come back to the players afterwards. So I'm always trying to think in those kinds of, ideas that whenever they interact with somebody, I'll kind of write a note on how they feel about the players. And, and when things start rolling with the game, you can come back to these NPCs and continue on their interactions with the players. Not only in that spot, but they could end up with that interaction with that same NPC in, say, a tavern scene afterwards, or later on down the road, the NPC may be traveling along with a caravan, and they may see the players. If they have a favorable disposition to them, they may be friendly to them and wave at them and greet them and talk to them for a moment. They may relay some information, or if they've had a bad experience with them, they'll just simply either ignore them, or if they're mean-spirited, they could do something mean-spirited to the players, in a sense. It all depends on how the interactions from the previous episodes had gone on. So everybody knows that. It's pretty simple and self-explanatory. But those are the things you keep notes on, and you write this stuff down. I always have in my Castles and Crusades game, I got a whole list of things that have gone on with these players, with interactions with NPCs or former characters as well. And these things are going to pop up later on in the game. So I have particular times when this is going to happen. So, but as far as what Shadow was saying, travel, as long as it's agreed between all the players, continue with the traveling. It's what they're doing. Their goal is to get to the next village, and you, as a game master, decide on whether or not there's going to be an interruption in that, or if you want to go ahead and describe things along the way. Like I say, it gives the players, their characters, some time to interact with each other and do what they want to do. Now, this is where tomorrow, when we have our session, I am going to be focusing on trying to give all the players equal time. So I will have basically, I'll be going through each one of them throughout the turns of the game, and making sure that they have actually done what they want to do. Because I kind of seen on my last video I think I missed out a possible interlude that we could have had with Mr. Max in that particular, with his character Bernier. And I feel that was kind of a miss, and it was my fault for kind of missing that out. And I want, like I say, I'm trying to become better and better, and realizing my mistakes and how to correct them. And every time we go through a game, we're tweaking and we're trying to get better at this. So and I have tons of room for improvement, that's for sure. So let's continue on.
Two forces in maybe not necessarily in opposition, but certainly different forces. The forces of the GM, which is the force of the world, versus the force of the players.
And it shouldn't be an adversarial relationship between the players and the game master. It only becomes that way if you're playing the NPC, which is the enemy of the characters. Then you would go ahead and pull out the stops on being nice and and have their wrath enacted upon them. The also the environment, the wind, the rain, the snow, the storms, whatever, the volcano exploding in the background or whatever it is that's going on. Also, you're gonna have to decide on the pacing of that as well too. And I mean, you don't want to be like one of those game masters that roll the players through a game and start doing the Dante's Peak, where you're throwing volcanic explosions at them, like tossing them, and it's like almost like the volcanoes like following them, like, I'm going to defeat you, like it is in Dante's Peak. I hate that. That's one of those kinds of videos where or movies where they have that kind of weird kind of interactions with the environment, like like the volcanoes actually going after them like a monster. That doesn't really appeal to me. I would rather have intelligent things going after people with intent of causing harm instead of the environments in that kind of case. I'd rather keep my environments neutral, like harshly neutral. Yeah. And work with it that way. It's going to be an unforgiving world, but you play it smart, and you'll cross the bridge when it comes, even though it may be just a single strand of rope, spanning across the chasm by 50 feet. And whether or not you can, hang onto the rope and make your way across, that's going to be on you, whether or not you have the skills to do so, or the strength to do so, or conquering your fear of heights to do so. Whatever it is, your character, how your character has been built up. And the cool thing is in my game with Crispy's playing a character, and he's always talking about how kind of robust and large he is. He's not, his character, you can see the picture, is not totally overweight, but you can definitely tell he's got a little bit of a paunch on him, a bit of a dad bod. So he plays that up, and I like that when characters are playing that up. And I think the rest of the players should kind of key in on that too, as Crispy is really good at that, at kind of picking out the things about his character and relaying that information all the time, so you kind of get a good sense of what his character is all about. Something that players normally don't do. So having that more so in the game is cool, and it adds to the whole reality of it. So let's keep on going here with Bo's video.
And in literary tropes, literary context, we talk about conflict, right? Man versus man, man versus nature, man versus himself, man versus ideals. And that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to, again, facilitate or create, the dynamic that players can use to explore themselves, to explore their characters, uh, internally and externally, and however that goes. And I think that that's really what I'm trying to do as as the GM, right? I'm trying to create an environment in which the players can explore, whether they're exploring the universe, whether they're exploring, again, whatever they think their mission is, their life goals. I think that that's missing from a lot of games now. I don't know if that's something that's just not taught, just not learned, um, and that's where I'm coming from as the GM, right? I want to um, help the players explore themselves, explore their place in the world, uh, and to create an environment in which they can do that. Sometimes that environment involves, you know, black freight shooting lasers in your character's direction, and your character has to decide in a hurry what's going on. But it's just something I've been thinking about lately.
I totally understand where Bo is coming from, because I've experienced this in like the last year, trying to figure this whole thing out on how to make the game less like a board game and more like something that you would listen to like an audiobook, or where it's more interactive with the players, because they're contributing a lot more to the game than just rolling the dice and cracking a joke once in a while. So I see Bo is, I mean, maybe he's being influenced a lot by, you know, some of the players that he's seen, like in particular, like Abraham does. As Abe was one of the first game masters that I seen that was like, you know, applying this and showing how it's done. And of course, there's things that Abe can do to improve himself a little bit more too. And but it's just good that at least Abe got the videos out of his live plays with the players, and having the interactions before you, so you can look at it and go, I see what's going on, I understand this, and then work on it yourself. But it takes some time, Bo. It'll take you a while before you finally deprogram yourself from the, you know, the idea of taking the reins for the characters and going with it. But you know, because you want to have these exciting things happen, or whatever, but let the players do that is the thing. And the players, like I say, once you got that mutual trust with them, you know that they're good players and they're capable of doing wonderful things by themselves, or coming up with ideas by themselves. Then it becomes, you know, more of a collaborative, interactive thing, where you, as the game master, you don't have to do all the work. I think that's where a lot of the game master burnout occurs, is because the game master is trying to be, you know, the NPCs, trying to be the environment. He's trying to be, you know, the players, and he might be trying to take over their consciousness during certain times. He may be injecting what they should be feeling at this time, and all this stuff. That's totally wrong, because, you know, the players should be in control of all that. They're the ones that have the idea of how they would react in a certain situations. Are they scared of spiders, or do they not care about insects? They're like, they're fine with creepy crawlies and stuff like that. Yeah, characters are all different. You know, they all have different fears, different likes, and all that stuff. So for you as a game master to pull yourself out of that, and just, you know, commit yourself to just being the environment and the NPCs only, and only describe the environment and NPCs. Okay. And that but like I say, it's hard. It's going to take you a few sessions to get through that. And hey, Bo, see, Bo, the man of the hour is here, and I'm not, saying anything mean or anything here. I'm not the type of guy to go ahead and say mean stuff. Really, I'm, I'm just, I'm just totally agreeing with your mindset here. And I kind of, like I say, I kind of see the parallels in what I've been going through, and your realizations here. And I think it's cool that you're speaking about it. I think it's cool if other people start speaking about this too, as well, and get kind of the word out. Hey, maybe there is a different way of playing than you directing everybody around, like we've seen with for example, the video on Legion of Myth where they were doing the 24-hour 24-hour thing where they were trying to get raise money for the veterans thing. And there was a game with Heathen Dog, and that's an extreme example. Heathen Dog, he admits he's a railroader, and that's the way he is. All the players were doing were sitting back really throughout the entire session and rolling dice, and they didn't even have to say anything sometimes. The Heathen Dog was actually saying all the things for them, and describing how they were feeling and what they were thinking, and why they were doing something. They would do this to. He started taking the characters, and because they weren't saying anything, he was making them, oh well, you go over and heal this guy or whatever, and or give him medical attention. And the player didn't say that, but the Heathen Dog said that. And and what's the point of the players being there if Heathen Dog's taken the reins of the whole thing, including all the players? So and people are seeing this, and some players are really actually okay just being die rollers. If that's what they want to do, I mean, then cool. There's plenty of games out there where they can do that, but there's not enough games out there right now where they have a game master that is willing to actually let the players take the reign of everything. And it's kind of a shame. So you say railroad, I say plot hook. No, I say, if you watch some of my old videos of how I do my prep, I call what my NPCs are all up to their own plots. So I mean, as in like a scheme. They plot, they scheme. So it's what they're doing. They have an idea of what they want to do. The players are going to be doing whatever in the meantime, but and which doesn't actually relate to what the NPCs are doing. It's the thing when what the NPCs are doing and when the players cross paths, that's where the excitement starts happening. And it's a railroad. If you've seen the video with Heathen Dog, that's truly a railroad. So, which I mean, that's okay if the players seem to be all okay with the way it was going. They were willing to go ahead and let Heathen Dog take the reins of their characters, and let Heathen Dog do the cool things for them. I mean, fine. If that's how they want to play it, that's how they want to play it. Yeah, but you have to have reasons for your NPCs on being there. They have to have some sort of things that they are doing. You can't just have everybody just being stagnant like Skyrim, where the NPC just stands there and waits, and then he may have a trigger at nighttime. He goes home and he goes to bed, or whatever. Or at least in Skyrim, you'll have those interactions where the characters are talking to each other, in the background and stuff like that. But that's for you as the game master to be presenting, and you got to make it fairly realistic or lifelike in order to get through that illusion that it's a living world. So, yeah, exactly. They have their own motivations, but it's always good to have an idea of what you got to have that stuff written down, because you get so many NPCs or organizations and stuff like that, or monsters. I include monsters in those too. They have their things that they are doing, and like I say, it's up to the players to decide on how they're going to interact, if they wish to interact with these things as they come across them. I could simply do something where yeah, exactly. And that's, you could have something along the road as they are traveling. You could say that there is a off to the side, there is a well that's been broken, and seems to have been there for some time in disarray, misuse. It's but the players can just walk past it, or they could entirely interact with that well. It could lead to something. Maybe a character says, "Oh, I approach it and I look down the well to see what's down there." And then you say, "Darkness," or whatever it is. You hear the echo of the water going blook, blook, or whatever it is that you're going to say. It could have a monster in there. Who knows? It was whatever you decide as the game master. Something could be living in there. It could be it could be a dry well or something. It could lead to a cave system underneath there. Who knows? It's entirely up to you to make that happen as the game master, because you are the one who's in control of the environment, and you got to remember to make it fairly reasonable, consistent, believable, that sort of thing for the context of the game that you're playing, the setting of the game that you're playing. So, but you're not there as a game master to force them to go to the well or force them off the trail to head to that well. That's got to be the player's decision to do something like that. So getting your brain set up to think in that context instead of trying to force these moments, that's key. And like I say, it takes a bit of time. But if you're playing with a group of players and you're letting them know that, hey, I'm trying to improve, you give them the lowdown that hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I also do with my players before I get them started in the Castles and Crusades game. I say, okay, today I'm going to work on pulling myself back and letting you guys take charge. You guys want to go ahead and describe your successes and failures, and we'll set kind of these terms on this session in order to just kind of to understand and tweak things. I want to see how they can handle describing their things when it comes time, and that was the theme of the game at that moment. And every session is different because I'm trying to work on something different each time. And I would say this next session, I've said this to people that or have listened to this earlier on this very video, is what I'm going to work on this time is giving everybody their share of moments. So I'll go through the round table, going through everybody and see how that goes. Let's continue on listening to what Bo has to say here.
Exploring what it means to be a GM and seeing my own views on that evolve. And it really came to mind in the last 2 or 3 sessions when all I've had to do as the GM is stand back and let the players do what the players do. They talk, they explore, and I don't have to hold their hand. In fact, sometimes I even have to turn my camera off for a little while because I have the absolute worst poker face. And when I am trying to make things go, I'm afraid I'll play my hand.
Yeah, you'll see that with me in the games that I'm doing. I'll try to do the straight face because I'm just listening and I'm just taking note of things that they're saying and things that I could use later on. And I'll have a list of notes that I'm making off to the side of all the things that they're coming up with. You also see when I'm usually when I'm trying to describe something, I'll go ahead and close my eyes, and you'll see that in a couple of the sessions there. If you ever watch my videos with the live streams with the guys, I'll close my eyes and I'm imagining everything and I'm seeing the details of how I'm describing this, and that's what I'm doing when I close my eyes. Is I'm just trying to like disregard anything that's in front of me, my screens, my thing of Dr. Pepper or whatever is in front of me, and I'm just concentrating on how to describe something and let it flow out, and then take it from there. With the players can take it from there and play with it, decide. And I don't care. A lot of people go ahead and they make these maps and stuff like that. And to me, now I'm at that stage where I don't care if what I have written down as a map is exactly the same as the way they're seeing. It's totally okay. They can see it the way that they want to see it. I'm not going to go ahead and start saying, well, that's not actually how, those pillars are not actually in front of you. You have to approach them first before you take them. I'm totally fine with how the players, say, I dash over to the pillar and take cover and start slinging my arrows at the creature. And, that's his turn. And exactly, and that's why I'm doing this video here. It's very much the same thing that I've been trying to get through and tell other people about too. There's just not enough of this going around. Like I say, Bo, keep on doing more videos like this because it gets it gets other people to realize, hey, there's a little bit of a different way that they're playing. How do they do that? And they'll start inquiring or something like that. So we definitely have to get more people trying, this kind of thing. And I mean, they're not all going to get to the Mahavishnu of role playing. They'll all develop in their own way, as slow or as quickly as they can, or not. They could decide, oh, this isn't for them. They don't really have that cutting edge imagination, and they prefer seeing the minis and the maps and stuff like that. It's totally okay if they want to play that way. But the way I want to play is, get the imagination going, because it's something that we're losing as part of our society is that imagination thing. A lot of people are not reading books like we used to. They're totally reliant on seeing video all the time. So here we are, the instigators of the curse that we've caused, creating an entertainment, that that other people will hinge on, and but hopefully they can get something good out of this, and they can become better with their imaginations, and develop them, a little bit more. Start working on it. It's a muscle you got to use in your head, right? Your brain. It's not a real muscle, but it is kind of a muscle. You got to develop it a little bit. And if you're just sitting around watching stupid videos, TikToks all the time, your brain's just going to turn into mush after a while, and you're just, you're not really thinking about things. It may trigger some sort of emotion or something, or you may laugh at something because it's a jokey kind of thing. But the thing is, if you're developing your imagination and you keep it going, I'm not a young spring chicken anymore. I've got 2 more years and I'm 60, right? I'm kind of thinking I gotta take care of my old, the bean up here, and I read as much as I can. I'll also listen to a lot of the audibles and stuff like that. So that's usually how I listen to novels and stuff. Because the reason why I listen to the novels is because I want to have a voice saying stuff to me. So the narrator is saying these different things. So I'm keying on how the narrator narrates, and that helps because I'm understanding, the cadence of the narration. And some narrators go into really deep, crazy detail. Other narrators just give you enough that it pings your imagination, and your imagination fills in everything. And that's where I want to be at. I don't want to give out like super ultra detail in order to, I'll give detail where it's needed. But I want the players to imagine everything else and fill in all the spaces themselves. So like I said, once talking about maps and stuff like that, I don't care if it's not exactly the same as what I had written down on this piece of paper, piece of graph paper. I let the players take care of it. A lot of times what I write on my graph paper is like a big kind of square, and say, this is a room, it's a temple, it's got this, it's got that, and all the particulars that you need. And I'm not really caring about the shape or anything like that. All they got to know is the exits and the entries, all that, and what's important. The things that I really want them to see in that room, I will describe them as well. The rest of it, they can imagine, they may be imagining, the different colors in there. They could describe it the way they think, the way they see it. And that's totally okay with me. And, I'll have to check that out. I'm not familiar. I've been mostly going on with a lot of the I listen to a lot of Jack Vance. Vance has a really good way of describing things where it's not too much crazy detail. And I like the setting that he has with the dying earth and everything, because it's very Numenera kind of stuff, where it's like billions of years in the future, and everything's changed. Hey, RPG Grandma, good to see you. And everybody else who showed up. Hey, everybody in the background. But yeah, this is cool that we're both coming to these realizations in our games, and we're trying to experiment a bit in order to get to that, point in our games where We don't have to do as much work as game masters. We let the players do part of the work as well, lift the load for us. There was one session that I had where I was feeling fairly ill. I was having issues because I had just taken I got wrecked my back, and I was taking some pain meds, and these meds were kind of messing me up. I couldn't I had to stop eating my favorite spicy foods and everything because it was really bad for my stomach with these medications. And that lasted about a week and a half of taking these things. And the session that we had, because I was kind of feeling we had to get the session done, I just kind of sat back and let the players play it out. And exactly like you said here, Bo, you just stand back, let the players take care of everything, and you're just enjoying it. And that's all I was doing. I was just sitting back, taking some notes. I'll interject every once in a while, giving them something new in the scene, or a new character pops in and there's a little bit of interaction, and it's totally cool. And it works. The players will take over a lot of that heavy lifting for you. So you just have to be able to trust your players. You get them to a point where you've been gaming with them, you understand them, and it becomes quite natural with the group, and they just keep on going along with it because they want to have the experience too. So their interactions are working in the setting that you have before them, and you're just adding a little bit more whenever you have to in order to kind of clarify things for them, as they ask things through their characters. Um, they'll ask for a little bit more detail in certain things, or they'll express the senses that they wish to evoke, and you can go ahead and add the extra information for them if that's the case. Let's continue on with this video. We're almost halfway through.
But that's again, and let the players actually give me ideas, and let the players give the world ideas, and look at the world as a character of its own, right? The world is a character, the planet is a character, the environment is a character, and as such, it has its own motivations. What does it want to do? And sometimes what it wants to do doesn't have anything at all to do with what the characters want to do.
Exactly.
So I think that's something that's really missing from a lot of game sessions nowadays, and something you might want to consider when you're sitting down on the other side of the GM screen, on the back side of the GM screen, and think, what's my goal as the game master? What am I trying to accomplish? What am I trying to facilitate? And there's ego involved. I mean, when I sit down at my laptop and I'll bang out a couple of pages of lore or background or
no, for me, it's a lot to do with continuity, keeping everything in line, and making sure that all my notes are good. I'll go back to a couple of the sessions, and I'm like, oh yeah, what was it that I had that NPC say to the player? So I love having video of my stuff in order to kind of recall, because your brain's it's not the best at recollecting the exact things that you had brought up. The brain will tend to go ahead and add things to the imagination. Like it'll add things to the session that didn't actually happen, or take away things that you forgot. That's it. Yeah. So it's always good to have those sessions on hand so you can go ahead and recall those moments and stuff. Bo, I highly recommend that if you haven't got your sessions like recorded, it's such a good learning tool, and it will teach you so much about where you're missing, and you just have to watch. You have to watch them, you know, even though it may feel kind of cringe seeing yourself doing things and stuff. It does help you a lot because you'll realize how you're coming across as a game master. You realize where you missed moments and stuff, and you'll start to think, okay, how could I have done this scene better? How could I have made this a better moment for Max or Crispy or whoever it is, you know, that you're playing with. And it's such a good teaching tool. Even if you have it just recorded and stashed away as a private video or an unlisted video just for your eyes only, so you can you know you can build, you can learn, you can improve yourself a lot more better, and go from there. Wouldn't call what Heathen Dog did as a railroad campfire story. uh, where it was pretty much Heathen Dog telling the whole story. You watch that session again, and count how many times the players actually said that they did an action and it followed through as such. You'll find that a majority of what the players did was basically what Heathen Dog was saying that they were doing, without the characters' input. But like I say, that's I mean, if that's the way they want to play it as players, and that's how they're used to playing it, I mean, they're not going to see it as a bad thing, because it's what they're used to. And if that's what they want, is just to be a die roller in the game and maybe say a joke once in a while, well, that's the way they want to play. And it's not saying per se, like I say, as a bad thing. It's I mean, Heathen Dog is getting what he likes out of it. Those players seem to be getting what they like out of it. I mean, they were saying that they were happy with it. That's cool. I'm just saying, that's not, I want my players to be more interactive. So I want my players to be able to, you know, do those things on their own. I don't want to influence that, like taking their hand and you know, say, come this way. You know, it's I want them to be, you know, proactive. Exactly what you're saying here, proactive and reactive game mastery. That's a key. Yeah, always. Yeah, going over the important notes. And that's why I say having the video there so I can go over it again is awesome. Yeah. I even if you, Bo, even if you just went ahead and just did doesn't have to be a video. It could just be a recording of the entire session. You could have a tape recorder recording the whole thing in front of you, or whatever. Whatever. If you have some form of recording on your computer, if you're doing everything on the computer, have the entire feed that's going through your speakers, as well as, you know, what's coming from your mic, going into that feed, and it should be able to work. Well, you don't like Bo's face here. I think I think it's cool. It's a face of sophistication. Yeah, handheld recorder or something like that. That'll work as well. Even if you have it, like you may have, you know, your everybody's voice is coming through your speakers or whatever. Have the recorder there. Although it's kind of hard because you get the echo and stuff like that. But um, and every table has its own dynamic, and every GM has to be able to read the room and find a happy medium, or there's no game. Well, that's the thing is I'm usually looking for the players that want to be the proactive ones, and if they're not a proactive one, then I will because a lot of times I'll have like let me see, Spencer is semi active. He's not one to go ahead. He's not proactive. He's semi active. Josh is he would rather have you tell him a story a lot of the time. So he's one of those players that so I could have a game or two with just those guys and they would be happy. You know, I'll do the things for them and everything. That's certainly a thing that you know, you don't have to play every game that way, but when it comes to me playing with the role players, I definitely have to go ahead and pull myself back and become the narrator in that kind of a situation. So, um, yeah. There's different ways that you can do these streams and stuff. A lot of times, depending on what kind of software you're using, you can usually find stuff on YouTube. If you're using like OBS or something like that, you can find stuff from Michael Fryer Jr.'s channel, which would really help you. He explains how the channels work for audio and stuff like that. It just takes some time. And the other thing is, well, if you're if you're using StreamYards, that's going to be your easiest thing because it does all the recording for you. So if you hear the voices and you hear, everybody's communicating, everybody can hear you, you can hear them. StreamYards is going to record it for you. And you can definitely use the free version to do all that. That's no problem. You don't have to do the paid version. And I mean, if you're with a group of guys that use StreamYard, and if you want to share the like a pro version or stuff, we do that too. We there's a bunch of us that are YouTubers, and we're all sharing my pro account. So we're all working together and helping each other out, figuring out the different nuances of the pro version and stuff like that. So definitely, I think Mr. Max and Flame Zombie are both using the same account, and their accounts coexist in the same StreamYard. So definitely, if you can, with a group of other people that are willing to go ahead and give you a space in theirs, it you can make it reasonably cheap for everybody and affordable. Yeah, a lot of interesting banter going on in the background. Oh yeah, of course. No, I'm not. The only time I ever razzed Bo was when I said when I when I said that Bo sounds like a guy that's been in the army, and he had the quartermaster was yelling at him too many times. He just so it's just the inflection in his voice, but I'm getting used to Bo talking, so it's seeming more natural to me. That's just the way Bo is. He kind of sounds like that nervous guy that are you sure? Are we gonna? It's just the way some people talk. I mean, You might sound totally different if we met one on one and we're talking to these. You might not be, might not sound as nervous or anything or something like that. I'm so used to talking to people on stage and stuff like that that it doesn't really affect me or anything. So the way you see me, you can even ask Crispy. The way you see me now is how I'm going to be reacting to you in real life. So, and yes, and yes, we do love you. Let's continue on with here.
Create a monster, spec out a monster, spec out a robot, spec out a racial template for the game, and these are the abilities that I want this race to have, and these are the things that these are the limitations I want to put on that same race. This race is a psychic blank. They can neither be psychic nor can they be affected by psychic abilities. Okay, so I'm going to put that down and let the players play with that. Or I'm going to make a robot here, and it's a maintenance robot, but it has heavy lifting arms that do crushing damage to the players should they find themselves on the bad side of this robot. And I want the players to interact with that. I mean, that's my ego, right? I want to create a world, and I feel satisfied.
And I know where you're at with that. Sometimes you want a particular NPC or something to be part of this thing. If the players go right past this character, and you have to let it go almost. It's like, oh, it was a missed opportunity. But then you start to understand where you have to where your prep needs to be concentrated at times. What's the important thing in the prep? You don't want to over prep. You don't want to have all these assumed cool things that could happen, and then they don't. You just have to kind of let things go. You have to just write stuff out. It's stuff that you can use later on. If it's not that kind of an NPC is missed or whatever, or the robot has been missed, there could be an identical one. Because robots are built in series. They're built in the factories, and they could all have a kind of a similar gimmick to them as well. That could happen, and then you actually get that moment where that robot is used. But if the players miss it, it's fine. Take some of the qualities of that robot and stick it onto an alien or something like that you can think of, like in the future or something. Have something like that the things that you really wanted to kind of perk out of this particular entity for the players. Use it for something else. That's right. No prep is ever wasted, because that's the thing. Even though you did create something, you wrote it down on paper, and it didn't come out, in the game at all. Definitely save that for later. Throw it in a stack of papers or whatever it is you're using for me. It's been all on the computer now, basically, as I've kind of switched it up from using up paper. The only time I ever use paper is just for the my quick sheets for the players, so I know how they stand as a character, what their armor class is, what their hit points are, all that, whatever their strengths or weaknesses are. And the important things that I need to know are written on those sheets, and that's the only thing that I got really sheets for. I've kind of given up on my. Kind of given up on filling my book anymore, because I'm doing stuff on the computer now. I found a couple of really good programs for putting your game master notes and and having them be able to be organized in a particular way. So all that prep, like I say, like you say here, it's never wasted. It's their ideas, and then definitely recycle it later. Exactly. Yep.
Satisfied as a GM when my players interact with those things appropriately, right? At the same time,
or even inappropriately. You never know what happens with the players. So they're always surprising you in some way or another.
Don't always go my way as the GM. You know, I expect players to zig and the players zag. And so I've got two choices, right? I could institute the quantum ogre, or I could take that encounter and save it for a later.
I do try to keep away from any kind of quantum ogre. It's yeah, I'm not a fan of quantum ogres. I don't want it to be done to me. So, because it just feels like, well, once again, a big kind of railroady kind of thing. I stick my things when they're set in the game. I stick them there. In the beginning, when I haven't put it on the technically the map, if I haven't put it on the map yet and the players don't know it exists there, it doesn't exist there until I make it exist there. So, the wandering monster, yeah, yeah, I guess you could say. I mean, it depends on how you're thinking of the wandering monster. Are you conjuring it up through a die roll or something like that? Who knows? You know, I don't use them like a wandering monster like that. I have my different ways of doing things, so which I'll go into maybe on another video. But yeah, rolling with the players as much as possible. Yes. Yeah, if you're forcing them, if you're forcing it, they definitely know. My You see, in my Castles and Crusades game, there is a location that they first started out in, and it is kind of an important location because it's sprouting the origin of the troubles that are occurring in the land that's happening. And the players are realizing that, you know, if they let it linger, it's growing stronger and stronger, and things are happening. And a key part of that was to introduce some NPCs that they would kind of cling on to and enjoy interacting with in certain ways. For example, one of the players is kind of drawn to be he's destined himself to be this woman's man in the future, right? So he's got, so there's a thing there. So it's something that you can use in provoking the players in certain ways, and that helps. It's just the way stories evolve. You gotta have some sort of, you know, relationship that you have going on, be it with an NPC or another character or something like that in the game, because there's that stuff that's going on, and if the players are attaching themselves to certain things and that's how their character's reacting, you can be guaranteed that if you do something to that NPC, the player's character is going to be, aha, I need to do this. You know, I have to go save that person or whatever, or stop this awful thing from happening to this character because I want to have that relationship with this NPC, right? So they're looking at it a way. Maybe it's a way that I can show that I am this honorable man and that I can take care of this person, right? It's you have to think in that way with your characters. You got to start thinking motivations and stuff as players. And once again, same thing with the game master. You got to start doing the same thing as well. But yeah, the time marches on, and that's the thing. If they're doing something else, like they're continuing on, going a different direction, there's stuff happening, and it grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and yeah, and once again, yeah, the stuff unfolds. They hear about it, and they're like, "Oh no, what have we done? We did not stop this thing." It's 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 just the way it goes. I don't me personally as the game master, I don't care if it flourishes or it dies or whatever. It's the way the players interact with it that makes the whole thing interesting. So I have no desire for the evil to grow or the evil to diminish. It's pretty much moot to me. So it is what it is, no matter what. Yep. And your doom flower blooms, and it looks fantastic after a while too, because the evil becomes stronger and stronger, and the players are going, oh yeah, how do we deal with it now? Because it is eventually going to catch up to us.
Later adventure. More often than not, I find myself saving that encounter for later adventure. I mean, if things don't go my way, that's okay. They'll go my way next time. I'm not here to be adversarial with the players. I'm here to create an environment in which the players can meet their goals in an adversarial world, right? I don't have to steer the world all the time. Eventually, the world will steer itself. A fully developed NPC has its own motivations. An abandoned factory has conditions that are just a matter of physics, right? The things are going to happen whether the players want them to or not, and they can stop them, and that might be their motivation, right? Their motivation is to stop the ticking down the bomb timer, right? Their mission is to rescue the princess before the Cthulhu cultists sacrifice her when the stars are right.
That's right. And it's the thing is, it's the player's decision to do what they want to do, and you just roll with whatever they're going with. That's the best way to play, because the players are doing what they want to do, and not exactly what you want them to do. As far as what you thought was going to happen. So the more that you take yourself out of it, you don't feel really like they're not doing what you want them to. You want them to do what they want to do. And so you let that happen. You just make the world and the events continue on. And, if you do have that growing doom, it's growing and growing. If the players ignore it, it just keeps on growing. Maybe there's other NPCs vying to go ahead and stop this evil doom that's occurring, and then you hear stories about these other NPCs trying to fight it and they die and stuff like that, or certain NPCs have gone after this thing and come back, stronger, but crazy maybe because they've gone insane from seeing the elder god that is being formed before them, or whatever it is that you have as the big baddie. And it's entirely up to you how you portray that in your game. You have to make it realistic. You can't just force these things, saying these NPCs saying you didn't do this, so this happened. You can't do that. But you have to. I mean, if it was their fault for this thing occurring, their characters may feel guilty. They may not feel guilty. It's not your call. It's the player's call. So, and if your players are playing characters that want to be heroes, then they may have like that arc where they're going from I care for no one to I do care for some people, and suddenly, oh, maybe I should do something about this. That's an arc. That's what all these stories are, is these arcs of people going from zero to hero. And that's not just meaning level wise, that's going meaning by their character, the development of their character as a persona in this world. Also, you got to have the NPCs react in different ways. If the players are doing certain things that are heroic, definitely have your certain NPCs regard the players as these heroes. Like the younger youth, kind of the kids and stuff. They see the character Bernier, and they're like, Bernier, stuff like that. If they heard that Bernier helped slay the Griffin and stuff like that, or whatever, whoever's character it was, you got to have those moments where you're playing on the character's emotions a little bit too. So, yeah, but a lot of yeah, you're a part of that as the game master, but a lot of it is depending on how the players present themselves in the game too. So, and that's where they're having the good time, is in these different events and how they take care of it. It may not go down exactly how you thought it might have gone down. It practically never goes down the way I thought it would go down. That's for sure in any of my games. Even before the Castles and Crusades, in my Traveler games, I really didn't have. The only thing that I'm doing differently now from my Traveler games is staying out of the player's actions now. So this is one of the things that I've been working on and trying to correct myself in certain ways. And I think I've got it down a lot more. I slip tiny bit every once in a while, but in the most part, I am conscious of it and I am correcting it as much as I possibly can. Let's go on with this video.
But I don't have to drive those things consciously, because the world takes on a life of its own. And these are things you might want to consider as a GM, right? I don't have to tell the players when to roll the dice. I don't have to I don't have to be proactive with the players. I want to be reactive to the players, because I want they react to the world and then they act upon the world, and that's that dynamic. They act and are acted upon. So these are just things that have been on my mind in the last couple weeks as a newer GM, and my opportunity to role play then as the GM is to role play as the world, as the environment, and as the NPCs. And I try to make each NPC have its own motivations, its own reasons and rationales, so that I don't have to rely upon random tables as much as I can just say, no, that NPC, he's not going to do that, or yeah, that NPC is going to do that, because the NPC has drives more than leaving it up to random tables. Just things to think about as I sit here again and ponder my game. I did get down to a little bit of writing last night. I had about half an hour downtime at work, and I started looking at some of the old journal of the Travelers Aid Society, and I don't understand the old Travelers stat blocks. but I do know how to convert them to other systems. So I looked at a couple of monsters that I could use, for future games. So I'm kind of doing right now. These old materials are all available online, and there's a just a glut of it out there, just treasures and treasures and treasures out there. If you know where to look, a lot of old magazines that have been converted to PDFs, old uh, out of print source book.
Yeah, like I say, I in my traveler stuff, I've kept all of my first edition Mongoose Traveler uh, printed stuff. I bought a lot of the PDFs and I printed them out, so I had them coil binded and all that stuff. I got lots of coil binded materials here. I find those I don't use. They have charts and everything in them and random tables, but I don't use them as random tables or anything. I just use them as idea guides. So I'll just go through it and see where the lineage of the possibilities go. And I think, hey, there's a good idea in this. I'll use this. Um, or it'll give you an idea for an NPC and an if but and all this other stuff in there that you can kind of fractalize into something and gather all that information that you've taken from that stream of different tables, and boom, you got a cool idea that you can use that you didn't think of, and work on it a little bit more, give it a twist so it's more you, and yeah, you can do some cool stuff with some old materials. Definitely, there's no wasted materials out there. Just take from it what you can and build on it if that's what you want to do. Make stuff up all on your own. I mean, nothing that you make up is truly, 100% original. So you're going to be taking from different movies like or series like Outer Limits and stuff like that. And that's what I do. I take a story that I liked and I'll twist it and or add something different to it. Um, players equal the age player equal the agents of chaos. I kind of the chaos. No, they're just the agents of their nature. That's it. It's their nature to do what they want to do, and that's cool. I'm totally for that. And once you get your brain out of that, I want to control everything. Once you get out of that, you start to have more fun because now you're not fighting it; you're a part of it. So, and that's what I find is really cool. I think that's where I'm gonna. Bo, you said a lot here, and I think a lot of other players that are trying to be more role player oriented need to start saying stuff like this too. It's stuff that everybody who is trying to strive to be a better role player, a better game master, this I think becomes kind of the goal in the end is letting your players do what they want to do, and you have the fun of seeing it in motion, interacting with it as a reactionary game master, and enjoy it and have fun with it. Um, there is going to be a video, collaborative video coming out pretty soon, where there's going to be a bunch of us that are game masters, and we're going to do a little exercise, which I seen on a video, which was very interesting, where they were creating a setting. But we'll go into that when that happens. It'll be an interesting video, where everybody is building this world piece by piece as we go around, and we'll see where it goes and how it evolves as we create it. So that'll be in the future. So I went through everything that I thought that was important on this video. Like I say, we need more people like Bo to discover these things and then make their own GM diaries out there of how they've came to these conclusions, and keep on bringing out this role play back into the hobby again. And hopefully there'll be more of us that pop up out of the woodworks. You see, it was like not about a year ago. It felt like there was only a few of us, like even trying to achieve anything in a role playing game, like learning how to role play, because there's nobody out there saying how to role play. They're all going by the rule mechanics. These are the rule mechanics, and that the rule mechanics are the role play. And we're like, no. There's something missing in this. It feels like this, you've got the game master, and the game master is trying to force everybody to do a thing. And should it really be that way? Should it be what the players want to do? And then you got these people fighting about who is actually controlling the whole thing. It's no, don't worry about that. Just let it happen and enjoy it. You just have to do. Yep. For Squirrel Hermit, let's see. Yeah, use it. I that's what it's either the Mind's Eye, like you see here. Usually Mind's Eye is talks about with other game masters. That's what when I do my GM diary. I can kind of show you here. I'll show you. If I decide on doing a GM diary, I'll have my GM diary up there, and that's what I'll be. It's usually me talking about my games and how I see how I failed in certain ways and how I can rectify things in certain ways. And I talk a little bit about my players as well, and how they interacted, how I think they could have done things better. Or it's not saying they did bad things or anything. It's like figuring out ways to improve the game, how to get them more interactive or more proactive, I should say, in the case of what we're talking about here. But there's just not enough of that going on. So having a GM diary, I think it would be super cool. You definitely use it. Shout out to Squirrel Hermit. Somebody's got to go ahead and get me and Squirrel Hermit together, and so we can talk more about Harn and stuff like that, because he's a big advocate of the Harn stuff. Yeah, so definitely. I think I have them already subbed, so people definitely sub to Squirrel Hermit and Bo. I have them listed here as on the in the video description, so you can visit this video yourself and watch it all the way through. And yeah, I think that's all I have to really say. Is once again, it's cool that you are putting this out here, Bo. Your words talking about this whole thing and presenting it. It was an awesome video, and I just wanted to say, that's cool that somebody else is talking about this stuff. And like I say, we need more people being honest and earnest and saying, hey, we're trying to figure this out, and getting input from everybody, that follows you, whether or not it's, I mean, sure, you're going to get the negative input, and stuff like that. But that's the thing is I think it's totally awesome to have another person that's thinking the way I'm thinking and trying to overcome these obstacles that we see, and and make the experience better in a certain way. And once again, thank you guys for for showing up and interacting here, because the more that we talk about these things, the more it gets out to other people, and more people start doing it. Now we have guys like everybody else. No problem. I mean, any interaction you want to do with I'm totally cool on yak to me on Discord or whatever, or if you want me to show up on a stream, or I'll invite you to streams, that's totally cool. And all you guys for popping in here. But for a long time I felt like there was only a few of us out here doing like actually trying to do this. But now we've got, Black Lodge Games, we got all kinds of different people showing up out of the woodwork. And there's actually groups of us now that are actually playing together. They're trying to do the role play thing, and it's totally cool. And and do this to Bo too, Like I say, let's get him over the 100 subscriber mark somehow here. So and keep on going. I never look at this is my hobby. I don't look at it as a future job or something like that. This will always be my hobby. I won't ever like monetize or anything like that, no matter how big or how small this channel stays. I'm just expressing how I'm learning something and leaving it out there for other people to see. Hey, this guy started off in virtual tabletops and with the maps and everything, and now he's gone away from that. Now he's doing everything theater to the mind, and now oh, wait a second, what's he doing here? Why is his whole thing has changed? How is he doing this? We're all mystified. If you've kind of skipped ahead and you missed all my steps, be like, whoa, what happened here, right? But anyways, thank you guys for showing up and making this a little bit more interactive. Once again,
hey, since you made it this far in the video at the end, you may as well hit that subscribe button, because it's free. Honest, it's free. Just go ahead and hit it. I'm learning stuff. You are learning stuff. We all learn together. Subscribe. Just do it.